Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Is there anybody here tonight who has never been to a Govardhan Puja festival? Wow, okay. Well, you are in for a wonderful treat. Just as Govardhan is the best of devotees, this festival is the best of festivals, especially in Columbus. I think you need to get new straps on your car tools. These are so good. You go to Walmart and they have these, it's thicker,
Ribbons.
and they have little dots on them. They're grow grade. It means they're strong and they last. And they don't slide off your fingers. So, for the pleasure of their lordships, for the pleasure of Giriraj, who's represented here, and for Srila Prabhupada, we'll chant the devotional bhajan, Jai Radha Madhava. And is anybody here for the first time? Okay, welcome. Well, this, I don't know if you have words, but it's pretty simple, and it's, just like we were call and response, so the same thing here, so maybe you can pick it up. Try it anyway. I thought you were going to play. You're used to my weird rhythms.
Jaya Radha Madhava.
Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada
Jai.
ISKCON Acharyas and Gandhis Srila Prabhupada
Jai.
Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Shri Giriraj Maharaj Mahotsav Ki
Jai.
Or Premanandi
Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. What happened to the clock?
It was a decoration, Janmashtami time.
Huh?
The clock, that's why it's take out the clock.
Okay. Kamagiri, do you remember that time we were with Maharaj on the yatra and we all were cooking in little tiny cow dung fires with little bricks of contain, and then we took our offerings right across the street and personally placed them at the feet of Govardhan? You remember that? How could you forget it? It was so wonderful. So one morning, Krishna, little Krishna, kid Krishna, noticed that his father, Nanda Maharaj, all the cowherd boys, well, the adult cowherd boys, the gopas, adult gopas, and even the gopis, were really busy doing something. And it looked like it was a really big deal because they were getting all kinds of boga meats, unoffered food together. So much activity was going on, so he was, I thought, what's going on? What's happening here? Nanda Maharaj, the joy of tripping over cords. So Nanda Maharaj was explaining to him, today was Indra Puja. And why is that? Why are you doing all this for Indra? And his father explained to him that we're a Vaishya community. Maybe we should bring our own sound. We have a sound system in the car that doesn't squeal. Bring it in. Can you hear now? Yeah? In the back, can you hear? Okay. So we're a Vaishya community. It means agriculture, caring for cows. So we depend on the rain. Because from the rain we get the soil is nourished by the rains. The grains will come. We feed our cows with the grain. We get our wheat from the grain. Vegetable, everything is coming from the rain. The rain is coming from the mercy of Lord Indra, King of the heavens. Krishna wasn't really buying into that answer. He was age 7, and especially, I have to say that the culture in India, not so much now, but at that point definitely, but even now, children, they're obedient to their parents. And if the parents are going to tell you something, you'll accept it. You won't think of trying to correct your parents, particularly the father. But Krishna had something in mind. So he spoke up and he told us all, they're the demigods, because Indra is a demigod. All they could do is just deliver the karma that you have. So why should we waste our time worshiping Indra. We're all good people. We have good karma. We don't need Indra. After all, look at the ocean. What is the ocean? It's water, right? And when it rains, it's going on the ocean as well. Look at the mountains. When it rains, the mountains are also receiving rain. And they don't do any special puja. The rain just comes. So actually, we know we're good people. The agent of our karma, all the demigods could do is just be instruments for our karma. But in actuality, because in the varnashram system we're Vaishyas, we are protecting cows and growing crops in agricultural fields. That's how we make our livelihood and survive. Govardhan Hill is providing so much grass and so much fresh water and so many crops for us. Forget Indra. Take all the paraphernalia for the puja and worship Govardhan Hill. And let's worship the cows and worship the Brahmins, because they're the ones who are blessing us. And they're right here among us. And ultimately, because Nanda Maharaj wanted to please Krishna, of course there was some back and forth, but ultimately because he wanted to please Krishna, he agreed. Yes, all right. And then Krishna engineered the entire Govardhan Puja. So this little festival that we're having here is actually a big deal. And it's coming from Krishna himself. The Brahmins, that Krishna's explaining, the Brahmins could chant their mantras, they can do their yagyas, and we'll cook all this food and offer it to Govardhan. And they'll be singing, dancing, and music, and then we'll all circumambulate Govardhan Hill all together. A little hint, it's going to happen here too. So it was beautiful. Everyone in Vrindavan was blissfully organized the Govardhan Puja, and they made a huge, gigantic mountain of boga, and they went to offer it to Giriraj Govardhan. And little Krishna was standing next to Nanda and to Yasoda, and he wanted to show how Govardhan Hill was non-different from him. So he was standing, a little child, and he manifested simultaneously a gigantic form sitting on top of Govardhan Hill. And he said, yes, you see, Govardhan, the mountain is manifesting himself as a person to accept our offerings. And then little Krishna, he bowed down, he made obeisances to Giriraj. And then all the Brajbasis, they bowed down to Giriraj. So you can bow down or make, pranams. We're not doing full dandavats here later. So then Giriraj, Govardhan Hill, accepted within a moment all of the offerings. There was lakes and mountains of boga, and it disappeared. And then Giriraj, with a thunderous voice, because he was a mountain, he declared. Anybody know what he said? Anior! Anior!
Anior!
Anior!
Anior!
Anior!
Anior!
Give me more, give me more, give me more. And even though they had prepared everything in their stock of the whole village, still he demanded,
Anior!
give me more.
Anior!
So Krishna arranged for the gopis to offer a tulsi leaf with love and devotion. And Govardhan said, I am satisfied. And Krishna said, just see, he's eaten everything that we prepared within a moment. In the next moment, everything appeared again, just as it was before. That's the magic of prasadam. All the mountains and lakes of boga were foodstuffs, but now it was Mahaprasad, Giriraj Prasad, the Anukut. And Krishna arranged everything so that everyone was fed prasad, wonderful prasad. Whoever they were, the Brahmins, the Vaishyas, the Kshatriyas, the Shudras, the people who had no caste at all. The cows were given, the donkeys, buffaloes, dogs and cats, everyone and every creature. And after this incredibly joyous festival, everyone dressed up in their best, their finest. The gopis were decorated so nicely for Krishna's pleasure and to inspire each other. And also the gopas, they were in the same way, dressed very nicely. And then they decorated the cows. They put gold plating on their horns, and they plated their hooves with gold and silver. And they put on silk embroidered coverings on their backs. And they did the same for the bulls and the calves. Everyone was decorated, even the monkeys were blissful. And they also circumambulated Govardhan Hill, singing and dancing together. So this Govardhan Hill is very unique. He is the Supreme Lord Krishna, non-different from Krishna. And he's in the role of Haridas Varya, the greatest devotee. The gopis were explaining why he is the greatest devotee. Because he knows always what pleases Krishna. And he gives grass to the cows, he gives nice places for Krishna's devotees to drink water. And the water is just like nectar. And the caves are very cool. And in winter, the rocks warm. And in summer, they are cool. Govardhan has mastered the art of pleasing Krishna by giving service and pleasure to all of Krishna's devotees. Very important point here, because sometimes we're thinking, I'm serving Krishna. And we neglect the devotees. Even sometimes we get annoyed with the devotees. You're in my way and I'm trying to serve Krishna. Some kind of mindset. But Govardhan had mastered the art of pleasing Krishna by giving service to all of Krishna's devotees. And as they were circumambulating, doing parikrama of Giriraj, they were all so happy. There was nothing but ecstasy. Everyone was looking at Krishna, smiling and smiling. It was like the most blissful festival for everyone because it pleased Krishna. And Krishna revealed he's not different than Govardhan Hill. Govardhan Hill was his own body. And every stone of Govardhan Hill is Krishna. And at the same time, Govardhan Hill is playing the role of the greatest devotee of Krishna. So after the Govardhan Puja came to a conclusion, the Brajbasis, they were seeing Krishna's happiness. They were overwhelmed with joy. But Krishna had another plan. The show was not over yet. And that plan was to make Indra thoroughly miserable. He was completely insulted because everything was already arranged and prepared for him. So he told his associates, this talkative little 7-year-old boy Krishna, every year I've been given a grand puja on this day for generations and generations, every single year on this particular day. And they just now offered it all to the cows and a mountain. Because he was expecting this worship. He was totally insulted when he got it. He got so angry that he lost his intelligence because Yayato Vishwayam Pumsam. Krishna explains in the Gita 263 that when you have material desires, or kama, when they're not fulfilled due to your attachment, maintaining your attachment to material desires, right? You become angry and angrier. And anger causes the bewilderment of memory. And from bewilderment of memory, intelligence is lost. If you've ever had an experience being angry, like really angry, you know that you're not thinking straight. You may say things or do things that you later regret. Indra is a great devotee, but he forgot that this little boy is God, Krishna, who is the supreme source of everything, including everything he has and everything he knows. So in his anger and his desire for revenge, Indra called the Shambhataka clouds. So these are not ordinary clouds. These are the clouds that especially come at the time of universal devastation. And he ordered the clouds to rain down and destroy all of Vrindavan. Everything, destroy it. And very quickly, these enormous dark clouds covered the entire sky. Practically put the entire Brajbuli in pitch darkness, even in the middle of day. Everything was covered by these clouds of devastation, and they were so thick and so dark, not even a single ray of the sun could come through. But Krishna's toenails manifested moon-like radiance that actually gave light everywhere. And from these massive clouds, the Brijbasis were looking up. There was a thunder, a deep roar of thunder, really deafening. And then lightning bolts started flying in all directions. It was really fearful. The rain started coming down, not in little sweet drops, but pillars. It was described as pillars. It was like a gigantic river that had been dammed up. And then when the dam breaks, the water forcefully gushes down. So that's the way the water was falling from every inch of the sky. And the wind was enormous. It became freezing cold as the thunder and lightning were reverberating in all directions. The cows' only concern were their calves. So you know the cows have this flap of skin underneath their neck, underneath their head. So they were trying to cover their little baby calves to protect them from the rains and winds with that flesh that was hanging. And the cows were crying in pain, trembling from the cold, trying to protect their calves while the massive pillars of rain was falling. And they were roaring, and the Brijbasis all ran to little Krishna. It was like a very high-level drama. Previously, there had been an enormous forest fire, and Krishna had swallowed it. So now they were coming. Krishna, you saved us from fire. Now, please save us from all this water. After all, it was you who gave the order, told us to do this Govardhan Puja. And now Indra is really, really angry. He's trying to destroy us. Krishna just smiled. And he lifted up Govardhan Hill. It was described just like a child will pluck up a little mushroom, or like a huge elephant lifts a blade of grass. Krishna held Govardhan Hill over his head. He held Govardhan Giriraj with the little finger of his left hand. And if any of you know anything about the culture, the left hand is the hand you use for dirty things. So you never offer anything or do anything with the left hand that is supposed to be clean, like. So he's holding the hand with his, not only his hand, it wasn't even his hand, it was his little pinky, the little finger of the left hand. And very blissfully he said to all the Brijbasis, now go into Govardhan Hill and see. It's just like our home. It's our village. Giriraj is so happy that we gave him Anukut ceremony. He has become like an umbrella to protect us. And there are beautiful pastures under Govardhan Hill for our cows to graze on. There are lakes with swans. It's so nice here. Actually, it's described, I forget which book. It's described, however, that not only were the grasses and the lakes, but there was even wonderful places. There was for the devotees. There was carpets, there was cushions, there was sofas. Everything for their comfort was under Govardhan Hill. So then Krishna said, everyone come, let's have a festival under Govardhan Hill. Bring your cows, everyone come. And all the Dasis rushed under Govardhan Hill, which, as I explained, was fully furnished for their needs. When he lifted up Govardhan Hill, there was this enormous sound that reverberated all over the world. And Krishna explained that because Govardhan was pleased with us, as he was being lifted, earth was falling from the edges all around, and it created like a wall, a barrier on the ground, so that none of the water that was pouring relentlessly could enter underneath the hill. In other words, they were perfectly dry. So the gopis, seeing the beautiful form of Krishna and his smile, is there water? So they were seeing this beautiful form of Krishna and his smile. They glanced upon them, and they took that vision of Krishna into the very core of their hearts, and they embraced him within their hearts. And in response, he embraced them within their heart. He was satisfying all of their most pure, intimate desires continuously. And the gopas, the cowherd boys, they were joking with Krishna, laughing with Krishna, playing with him as he was holding this hill, each of them in their own ways. The servants of Krishna were offering so many things. You can just put here, in case I start coughing, which sometimes I do. So as he was the servants, they were offering so many things, and Krishna was reciprocating with them. And the cowherd men and ladies, who were all of the same age as Nanda and Yasoda, they were gazing at Krishna with parental love. And they were looking at Krishna. Krishna was reciprocating with each one of them as if he were their very own child. Nobody wanted that rain to ever stop. They just wanted to be there like that, always with Krishna. It was so beautiful. And as Krishna was holding Govardhan Hill with his little finger in his left hand, just to give further happiness to everyone, he began to play his flute with the right hand. Murali and Madhu Mangal, one of his cowherd boyfriends, said, Krishna, don't play your flute. Please don't play your flute, because we have seen what happens when you play your flute. Everyone falls into ecstasy. And Giriraj, when he hears the sweet song of your flute, he might also become ecstatic and fall unconscious and fall off your little finger, and then every one of us will be destroyed. We have seen when you play your flute, the song is so sweet that rocks and solid objects melt in ecstasy. They become liquid ecstasy, and then that ecstasy becomes solid. So by the sweet song of your flute, if Giriraj melts in ecstasy, we'll all drown. Another cowherd boy, because they were all joking, said, no, Giriraj is a very sober person, and great Mahatmas, great saints and souls, when they're in ecstasy, they keep it internal. They keep it to themselves. They don't reveal it externally. And meanwhile, on the top of Giriraj, because at that point in time, Giriraj was much taller than he is today. So on the top, the Shangataka clouds were extending full force, all of their energies. There were such enormous winds to try and somehow or other blow the mountain off the tip of Krishna's finger. But they couldn't do it. So much rain was pouring down. By the millions were striking against Govardhan Hill. But all the animals under Govardhan Hill were happy as it was happening. And it's described on for 7 days and 7 nights. Indra was trying his
best to devastate Govardhan Hill. But with all of his strength, he could not even move a single grain of dust from Giriraj. He could not even remove a single flower or leaf from any. And Giriraj was getting brighter and brighter and brighter, more effulgent. Because underneath Giriraj, he was being touched by the little finger of Krishna. And Krishna was being pleased with Giriraj. She was thrilled so much that Giriraj was Paramdrista. The happiness of being touched by Krishna, and Krishna being so pleased by giving Govardhan so much happiness. The thunderbolts, the windstorms, and massive rains were totally insignificant. Then Yasoda Mai, her motherly love, was saying, Krishna, Krishna, you look so tired. Your stomach caved in. And all the others were thinking, oh, he looks so happy, and he's making us so happy. And Yasoda says, put down your flute and eat some fruit. She was making cakes and tambulas and so many things, and she was telling the cowherd boys, Subal, you give this to Krishna. Krishna was smiling, and to reciprocate with Yasoda Mai with her love, he put his flute down for some time, and he was eating and chewing while holding up Giriraj. It described that outside there were rainbows and downpours, and there were clouds, and underneath the hill, Krishna's complexion was like rain cloud. His peacock feather was like a rainbow, and his smile upon every one of the Vishvasis was like an unlimited downpour of pure happiness. Finally, the Shampataka clouds went to Indra. They complained, we're on the verge of death and exhaustion. We give up. Indra became even angrier. With all of his powers, he was trying somehow or other to cause some harm to Krishna. But Indra could not even separate a leaf from the tree. And everyone was just so happy. Everyone was joyfully singing beneath Govardhan Hill. But finally, Indra understood. Indra understood that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of all the gods, and all the rain went away. Giridhari Krishna told the cowherd men and ladies, now the sun is shining. The rain is ended. Everyone, go back to your homes. The boys herded the cows out from under Giriraj, but when they saw Krishna was still standing there, they didn't want to leave him. And the limitless cows ran back and they made a circle around Krishna. And Krishna, with his eyes, was lifting Giriraj. With his eyes, he was herding the cows, each and every one of the cows personally, out from beneath Giriraj. And then effortlessly, he just dropped the great mountain of Govardhan exactly where it was before. And with his friends, he went around to inspect how was everything in Vrindavan. He wanted to make sure everything was okay. Everyone was just talking about Krishna. It was really something to talk about. They were all meditating upon Krishna, discussing how wonderful is Krishna. And Indra, he was feeling guilty, really guilty. He became very sober. And his arrogance was totally smashed. I tried to kill God. I tried to destroy all of Krishna's beloved devotees and the cows in his entire village. He didn't know what to do. So he approached his spiritual master, Brihaspati. And his guru said, you are in big trouble. You better go to Brahma. He approached Brahma. And Brahma said, you are in big trouble. You will only be forgiven when someone who is loved by the Lord intercedes in your behalf to ask Krishna to forgive you. Krishna loves the cows, so go to Surabhi, the mother of cows. So here's Indra, the all-powerful, wealthy, worshipable, the god of heaven, humbly coming before a cow asking her, please approach Krishna and please ask him to forgive me. So Surabhi said, let us go together. So here's Indra, powerful Indra, walking behind Surabhi. And Surabhi approaches Krishna, and Krishna went to a secluded place where nobody else was around because he didn't want to further humiliate Indra any more than he already had. And Surabhi told Krishna, Indra is repentant. Please forgive him. So there's this beautiful place when you do Govardhan Parikrama called Surabhi Kuj. It's part of the Parikrama. It's somewhere on this hill. Somebody here may know where it is. Very sacred, important place, because it is there where Krishna forgave Indra because of the appeal from Surabhi. Just like Hiranyakashipu was forgiven for everything he did and given liberation because of the prayers of Prahlad. Nrsimhadev, please forgive him. Durvasmuni was forgiven because of the prayers of Ambarish Maharaj. Devai and Madai were forgiven because of the prayer of Nityananda. So the lesson here is that we have to become sincere like Indra. Indra humbled himself before Surabhi. He recognized her superior position over his, simply because of her simplicity, because of her devotion. She didn't have the knowledge and the riches and the glorification that Indra had, but she loved Krishna, and Indra recognized that, and he humbled himself with a completely sincere heart to Surabhi. This is also a story of how the worst possible situation can also be the most beautiful opportunity to be with Krishna, to be with God. It's a story of how Krishna's grace, the Lord's grace, comes upon a devotee. Maybe not the way we expected, but the way that transforms us. Krishna recognized that Indra has humbled himself before my devotee. I will forgive him. And he instructed Indra to learn his lesson. And Indra and all the other devas and devatas honored Krishna and performed a beautiful abhishek of him. So this Govardhan Puja ceremony, it represents forgiveness, and it represents how Krishna protects his devotees by showing us what is of real value. And Surabhi represents pure, simple devotion. So that is kind of a little short synopsis of the beautiful story of Govardhan Hill. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. We actually need Dinabandhu Prabhu to roar out, Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Now all of you roar out,
Giriraj Maharaj ki jai! Giriraj Maharaj ki jai! Giriraj Maharaj ki jai!
Roar, Parandi.
Hari Hari Bol.
So I know that we're going to circumambulate, which means Giriraj is going to do a little shift, I think, because it'd be a little hard to do it here. And I'm thinking, huh?
Do you take any questions? Or?
We have about 10.
Well, I'm kind of over time.
No, we have time till 7:30 for the class.
Oh, is it? I thought it was seven. Okay. Questions, or if you want to share some other stories about Govardhan. I was thinking I was like kind of late, so I was rushing along. So there's many of you here who are very knowledgeable. You can maybe share some further stories. I see Prem the Lost hiding in the back. I see Krishna. I see Prem Sindhu. I see so many people. But one thing I want to say was when we do this circumambulation, so we can get the full feeling of what it was like to be under Govardhan Hill with Krishna. At one point, we should all just kind of crawl underneath Govardhan Hill. Get it? It is, we're circumambulating. You can just like go underneath and we can feel just what it was like to be under Govardhan Hill. And something I just want to mention, when you read about the glories of Govardhan Hill, you hear about the beautiful streams and the caves and the jewels. And you may be thinking, I don't see any of that stuff. Where is it? I used to think that way. But one time I had an experience where I took the ladies from, I was that time doing a Prikraman, what's it called, Rath Yatra tour. And we were on our way at that point down. And every year when I would go by this one place in Tennessee, this Lookout Mountain, but I'd see these signs. You'd see the signs like 100 miles away. They started like Ruby Falls, Ruby Falls, Ruby Falls. So one year I thought, okay, let's check it out. You came with us, right? So to get to Ruby Falls, we had no idea Ruby Falls, but you had to go up Lookout Mountain. Lookout Mountain was a place where at the bottom of the mountain there was a river flowing and there was a huge cave. And the Native American Indians used to hold their ceremonies there, respectful ceremonies. And then one day, this filthy rich, he was connected with the railroad companies. He had this idea. Because of the river, they couldn't get in the cave, and he thought it would be really cool to go up at the top of Lookout Mountain and drill down to the bottom and reach the cave. He started drilling. He spent lots of money doing this. And at one point, the people that were doing all the drilling came up and said, we've reached a plateau. There's a whole thing going on under this mountain, but we don't know what it is, and it's right in the middle of the mountain. So he came, and they had these, like, if you're a coal miner, you get these like head things, hard hats with lights, and they actually had to crawl on their bellies. They were just like crawling, but they heard something, and something was going on in the middle of the mountain. And all of a sudden, they came upon this amazing sight. There was a gigantic waterfall in the middle of the mountain, unknown to anybody outside of the mountain. So if an ordinary mountain, like Lookout Mountain, could have a gigantic waterfall, I mean a really big one, made big noise, it was amazing. In fact, when we were all there, they start this music. It was what you call classical music, but we started singing Govinda Hare Krishna. So like if an ordinary mountain can have a hidden waterfall, what to speak of Giriraj, so many things are there within. We also have to go within, and we'll find so many wonderful things hidden in our hearts. Can hear a little bit more from others?
Hare Krishna. I was thinking, when Krishna was with his friends during the daytime, he was only with his friends. And the nighttime, when he was with his girlfriend, in the nighttime, gopis, he was only with them. In the morning and the evening, he was only with his parents. And then when he was with them, there's a particular rasa he was doing, like either Vatsalya rasa, or Madhura rasa, or friendly, or different people. But Govardhan, 7 days and 7 nights, all rasas in one place, with all the people at the same time. There was no night and day, so as you said, because of his effulgence, it's all night, it's daytime, it's a light. So 7 days, 7 nights, with all rasas, 5 major rasas, and with all his friends, parents, relatives, girlfriends, boyfriends, cows, in one place. That's really, any Lila if you do, he does one of the rasas, one of the things here and there, but this is only the pastime. All rasas in one place. That's really amazing.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna.
only Krishna can pull that off. And in the same way, in the spiritual world, all of the seasons, there's 6 seasons in India, all 6 seasons are present simultaneously without conflict.
Yeah, it's very special.
Anybody wants more? I have one. Thank you so much, Malati Prabhu. I just want to clarification a little bit about you mentioned the
You can
Surav,
remove your mask to speak.
the Suravikunja and under Suravikunja under the Giriraj Govardhan. I just want to clarification where is the Namahatta Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed to Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur to preach in congregational preaching, the chanting. So that the same Namahatta in Suravi Kunja that place in under the of course, obviously Navadip in Vrindavan is not different from Vrindavan. But I just want to clarification. It was the same place, same Suravi Kunja. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed to Nityananda Prabhu Haridas Thakur.
Actually, somebody else will have to answer that question. Maybe Prem Vilas knows that. Is Surabi Kunj the same as the
What was
place?
the question? I didn't get.
Well, you know when Jagai and Madai were forgiven
Yeah.
by, I think, that, anyway, he wants to know if it's the same, like in Navadvip, that place, is that equal to Surabi Kunj? That's where they were forgiven. So in the same way Indra came, he was humbled, they were humbled, he was forgiven.
No, I didn't come across this. I read the book, Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita, but I did not remember. Anybody else remember?
I don't remember.
Gupta Govardhan. It's in Koladvip, Navadvip, it's called Gupta Govardhan, but I don't know about if it's Surabi Kunja. I don't know if that was useful. I just remember that it's Gupta Govardhan in Koladvip, in Navadvip. There's the Aparad Bhanjan Pat, that's the place in Navadvip where they were forgiven, but I don't know if it's corresponding to Surabi Kunj or not. Kunj. But since I have the mic, so one amazing thing about Govardhan is that there are these jewels within the caves, and so when the gopis want to get ready for meeting with Krishna, then they can see their reflections, and these jewels have different colors, so they can make, so it's like a little light show inside of the caves.
We have 4 more minutes, so we can.
So, one time when Krishna was holding the hill, then he was looking at everybody, and everybody was thinking that Krishna is looking at me. This is uniqueness of Krishna. So one time Krishna looked at Radharani, and Radharani moved her eyebrows, and Krishna started trembling in ecstasy, and the hill started shaking. The hill started shaking, so everybody was thinking Krishna is getting tired. So they were putting their, in that picture you see, they were putting their sticks to support Krishna. But actually Krishna looked at Radharani at that point, so the hill was moving.
And he was specifically, I was going to tell this, I forgot to tell, he was specifically looking at her bosom.
So that is...
But remember, he was only 7 years old, so it wasn't like a lusty guy.
Yes. Another thing, I heard in a class by one devotee, so he was saying that Govardhan appeared in Satya Yuga, much before Krishna came in Dwapar Yuga. Govardhan was very tall. So in Treta Yuga, Hanuman was building the bridge for Lord Ram.
Yeah.
So he came to Govardhan to use Govardhan as a bridge, one of the mountains in that bridge to Lanka. But what happened when Hanuman came to Vrindavan to take Govardhan? At that time, Ramchandra blew his conch shell that the bridge completion is done. So Govardhan became very upset because he was going to be used on that bridge, which was going to be used by Lord Ram and all his devotees to cross to Lanka. And now he has been deprived of that service, and he's the best of the servants, as we heard. So it's like, he was going to be engaged in service. So he told Hanuman, you are also a devotee, and I am also a devotee. You know how it feels when, a devotee is deprived of devotional service. Can you give me some benediction? So then Hanumanji said, yes, I'll give you a benediction that when Krishna comes, see, on this bridge, if you are used, you will be used only one time to cross to Lanka. But in Dwapar Yuga, when Krishna will come, he will play every day on you, and you will get to touch the feet of Krishna and Balaram every day. So Govardhan was satisfied. And he said, in this bridge, you will get like shared attention because there will be others on the bridge. But in the Govardhan pastime, when Krishna lifts you, you will get exclusive attention. Everybody will be looking at you and Krishna. So he said, that is the blessing I give you. Then Govardhan became satisfied. And so he was waiting for Krishna to come. And like that, so there are some things. And also another thing, that Krishna used to go to meet Chandravali. So he used to cross Govardhan. So because meeting Chandravali was on the other side, so he used to go up the mountain and cross. So his footprints would be like imbibed on Govardhan. So that Radharani doesn't suspect. Krishna told Govardhan, can you erase the footprints? Govardhan said, no, I am on the side of Radharani, I cannot erase the footprints. So then, in this pastime, Krishna uses Indra to wash those footprints. He's showering all the water and he's lifting the Govardhan hill, so all the footprints are, so there is no tracking of Krishna going to meet Chandravali.
Where is this?
This is I think it is I heard in a lecture by Amrendra Prabhu. Amrendra Prabhu. Yeah, and he was talking about this. It's, I think, Narayan Bhattadri or something. He was saying Vraj Bhakti Vilas or something like that. There is a book in which this pastime is mentioned.
Quick one from Malati.
Hare Krishna. I just like
Wait a minute.
that Govardhan is also known as Hari Das Varya, that he is the best of the servants of Hari, and he's an inspiration to all the devotees for rendering devotional service, and that all of our acharyas from the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have done bhajan at Govardhan. So even including our Vardhaman acharyas. So it will be nice if devotees also can take shelter of Govardhan Hill and periodically go there and visit there and do bhajan there.
But if you can't get there, here we are.
I think we should end 7:30 here. So I was told there's a change in the plan. Initially the schedule is that after class we're going to have a culture presentations program that we are going to release after, because so much of sweets are here to serve out. At the end, if you wait, not everybody can get it. So that's this, we're going to bring the court and parikrama up front. Now I just need a couple of volunteers, if you can push it, who made it. So if they can come and bring it a little middle, so we can start Prabhu can start Kirtan. Yeah. So now we go to Sarkumam Lake while Kirtan going on. Yeah, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then when that is done, then we'll move on to the next culture program. So when that is going on, they will take all the sweets out for serve out.
Beautiful class. Beautiful class. Thank you.
Nama Vishnu Padaya Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachatyade Satarine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasade Gaur Bhattavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasade Gaur Bhattavinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama